All right, the intro is go, and they can hear you in the background because I'm not turning off the thing. I did this thing. I overlaid behind the song like an Instagram video of a bunch of fucking machine guns shooting, and that made it sound cool. So, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Grunts and Pogues, Warbag. Welcome to another episode of Talking Guns. Tonight, I got a guest with me, a friend of mine named Jeff Sabins. He's a writer, he's a business owner, and he is a retired Marine. And I'll let him continue with the rest of his introduction. And here we
Yeah,
go.
thanks, man. I appreciate you letting me on here, man.
Hell yeah,
Um,
you're on screen now.
yeah, so I retired a week ago, loving life right now. Trying to grow this beard out, but
Hell yeah.
not going as fast as I want it to. But yeah, I retired a little while ago. Did some time. I spent some time with 3-8, did Fallujah, Ramadi, 22nd MEU, Weapons Training Battalion as chief instructor out there. Marja with 3-9. And then ITB at SOI, where me and you linked up. Went to Mar4Com as a training chief. Did a stint to Somalia with them. And then I retired out of 325 India Company out here in Johnson City. Right now, I'm the chief operating officer of Wood Construction Remodeling, a veteran-owned construction company. We're in 7 states right now, just kicking ass, having a good time. And then like you said, I got a couple books published right now. I'm trying to focus and get another one out there as soon as I can settle down and actually put some time towards it.
That's great, man. So that's freaking good stuff. I mean, gives a lot of hope to guys like me that like live and breathe the Marine Corps and shit like that, and don't see really much after it. You look toward that finish line of retirement. Well, I do anyway. That finish line of retirement, and I'm like, what do I want to do? I don't know. I guess I want to have a garden and fish, but there's so many more options.
Yeah, man, and it's a little bit different, I think, for me than it is for some people because when you're on an I&I station, man, like there's nothing out here. Like you can do the TRS program, you can do all that transition and stuff, but it's all online. It's all kind of you watching videos and doing whatever. But basically, I read that book, What Color Is Your Parachute, and like followed those guidelines to a T, right? So when I linked up, I worked with a major out here at ITB, or not ITB, I&I, and he was linked up with this company, and so he introduced me to the owner, Joe Wood, great guy. He's a veteran himself. And when I got out there, there was like 5 people in that company. And what color is your parachute in that book? It tells you like find a company with less than 20 people, a startup company, get in early and just go to town. And it worked out for me. Like knowing people and networking, went out there, met Joe, like obviously I had to show what I was worth and show him what I could do. And I spent many months as a consultant helping out where I could. And he offered me the position as the COO, and I took it. And here we are now, over 60 people in 7 states, and it's just awesome, man.
That's
And
awesome.
stupid machine gunner from Fallujah to now, like, hey, what we got sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh, I definitely want to expand on that some more. I think that was kind of like what we were going toward was how being a machine gunner and how is that the SOI ball mug?
Yeah, yep, you need it. Yeah, 100%.
Hell yes, hell yes.
I mean, come on, I'm down in the lounge, man. Every time you retire, you got to make your own lounge. I'm down here with all
That's
my
right.
stuff.
I know. That's why I got all this like cami net and fucking like rocket fibers and training claymores and bullshit.
I mean, I don't want to have any false pretenses here, man. Like it was sitting over there at my shelf, and you're like, you know what? Oh man, I'm gonna head up with Renfro, man. Let me go ahead and get my mug. It's still dirty. I put my beer in. I'm not even clean it.
Hell yes.
Use my mug.
Hell yes. It's got like little flakes from the coins that you just kind of like drop in there and forget about.
Absolutely, man. For
Oh
sure.
man, that's good. So, being a machine gunner, being an infantry unit leader and time in the office as a freaking training chief. I mean, I'm feeling that hurt right now. It's so boring, but at the same time, I mean, you get an idea of how things operate. You know how the bigger picture ties in, and that can carry forward into a much more successful career later on. That's what I mean. I guess I'll talk a little bit later about like the Navy Cool program and ONET and um, all those other useful little links or websites where you basically find out where your military service and your military experience has a crossroads or like parallels something in civilian life, and those are fun. But going beyond that, I mean, you've gone completely more out of the spectrum of that. You've grown and blossomed beyond just the same line, because drawing a straight line would be like saying I'm going to be a prison guard or or
Yeah,
work
for
for
sure.
or a
Yeah,
henchman for a cartel or some shit.
absolutely. And yeah, man, I completely agree. And so, and you know me, man, like I will do anything I can to be outside the norm. I just refuse to follow a straight line that's presented to me without people telling me what the result is to that and why I'm doing that. And you're right, man. Like if you go on those programs, and they're great programs, right? Where they're meant to help the masses, and they're meant to help people who just don't see what the outcome can be, and I think those are very good for the masses again. And but if you do those programs, they're going to tell you as an infantry guy from 0311 to 3141, 51, 52, 69, even 99s will tell you, um, hey, you can be a police officer, you can be a general manager, you can be this and that. And I mean, that's just the basic framework of what you can become for that. And I just don't agree with I, and in my own company for in warriorship, man, like that's what I preach is, you know, quit allowing people to tell you what the best is and shape and form your own best, because you'll always cut yourself short if you go off what everybody else is telling you. And that's the framework of where it came for me as a machine gunner, right? So um I always want to be better than just being a machine gunner, right? I didn't want to be all I could see in my life was, man, they don't hire machine gunners to man Mark 19s on the top of Walmarts and garden parking lots. That's just not a
Right.
thing. Not yet, anyway. I mean,
Not
it could
yet.
be.
I mean,
We could
someday
get
we could be the rooftop Koreans.
there. But there's more to just being, a machine gunner. Like, of course, I've always been the guy, and everyone knows this. Like, it's always like I'm not like there's a divide between enlisted officers, and I refuse to let people say like you're just a dumb enlisted grunt. Like, I will do anything in my power to smash that persona. But the same thing, like there's more than being just a trigger puller machine gunner. There's the data and science behind it that if you actually take pride in your craft and do whatever it takes to become the best machine gunner out there, you'll start to realize that there's more in every essence of every position out there in the world. And you just all it takes is you to study, to know, to ask questions, to learn, to practice, and you start realizing like there's more than just saying, hey, go make a linear defense. There's a science behind making the best linear defense that actually works in different situations. And then, hey, go find a 0311 hole, kick that dude out, and take his position. There's more to that than just what you're told.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of why behind it, and that why isn't just it's not just the science, and that's why I like to say this about machine gunnery, and building that defense. It's both an art and a science. I mean, you have to really study the data more than just the tables, more than just like physics tells you this is the way that the rounds are going to drop, and this is how the cone of fire is going to be formed over distance. This is how the beaten zone is going to drop over certain sloping forms of terrain and everything, right? And this is, um, I mean, there's a bunch of things like how you can manipulate the gun, or how you can manipulate fires with multiple guns to cover a certain area, whether you want to converge fires or like, have a distribution of fire over different lines and stuff. You can do the same thing with mortars. I mean, you can, drop it in a line, drop it in a box, or drop it into, a circle, or whatever you want to do. But that all takes math, and all that math, that's part of the science. And all that physics, that's all part of the science. But the artistic part of it is about being able to know where that all ties in, being able to read the ground and imagine what the enemy is going to do, flip the map, and also find ways that you can overlap that and mitigate the potential for somebody slipping through, fill in all the gaps, and create surfaces everywhere. That takes intuition, it takes initiative, it takes the ability to have some foresight, and
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. And you know this, like, so I was at ITB for about a year, and then I went up to the WIG and it was a chief at the WIG for machine guns for about 4 or 5 months, and then I went to McKick. But when I was at the WIG chief and you had your guys coming up there, there's more to, like, it's there. What I don't want is me to say, hey man, or hey private and PFC so and so, here's how the cone of fire and the beaten zone work. This is the mills and this is why it all does. I don't want them to just say, okay, yeah, if you're telling me that's how it works, then that's how it works.
yeah,
No, I want
that's how it
you.
works.
I want you to know and wonder why it works that way and what causes it to do that,
Yeah.
and then questions about that. I want you to make it difficult for me and challenge me, and put me in an uncomfortable situation to where you want to understand why it works that way, not just accept what I tell you.
Yeah, and that's also my favorite thing. It's like overcomplicating a situation or a question for myself to make it more difficult, and ask more questions within the question to figure out more about it. Like, get the details, get the whys at every level. I mean, and that's where you get, that's where you get into the freaking systems approach training and building knowledge, skills, and attitudes and stuff under each learning objective. That's
And
wild how it
it's
works
like
that way.
it originates from simple stuff, right? So the reason, and there's one instance that I always refer back to in my mind of why I think this way and I take this approach. And that, back in Ramadi, I remember being a machine gunner on a 50 cal, and Billy Tyree, another machine gunner in my section, was on a 240. And I remember us taking an ID strike, and then taking an enemy ambush from the rooftops, like we always did in Ramadi, going in and forth through the city. And I remember firing my 50 cal towards a rooftop at like just a constant rate of speed, just trying to put as many rounds on those guys as quickly as possible without any regard. And I remember Billy Tyree's truck, his driver had no idea that I was firing this 50 cal at a max rate of speed,
Oh
and
yeah.
drove right in front of me.
Oh
And
yeah.
so my instinct, and I, without thinking, is I let off the trigger as soon as Kyrie got in front of me, and as soon as he passed me, I went back on that hammer and just started putting rounds down range. And that is like, that instance is what I keep thinking about. Is no one taught you, like, that's how it just flows. Like, you just know what each other's going to do, and you
Yeah.
know how the system works so much that it's just a natural instinct to just
Yeah.
release, by, go back down, and keep hammering at the enemy. And that's the thought that continues to make me think, hey, there's more than just what they tell you in the books.
Yeah.
There's more.
Instinct and decision making are like, that's huge, especially when the situation is ever changing, and the situation is absolutely dangerous.
And you're never gonna develop that until you start questioning the whys and really starting to
Yeah.
learn and hone in on your skill.
Yeah, and doing it under stress for sure. Doing it under stress is definitely a key factor. I mean, there's a lot of things that you wouldn't think to do when you're under a shitload of stress, that, they seem to just happen, and it kind of flows in because, you know, you don't rise to the occasion. People rarely, if ever, rise to the occasion. They rise to their level of training and their level of proficiency. And I think what you displayed in that moment is a high level of proficiency and a high level of training in both, like, stressful situations and gunnery. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I don't want to say that there's the toxic leaders out there that just accept the norm and accept the basic foundations as being good enough, and it's just, um, yeah, man. Like I just want people to go beyond what they're told is their best and what is good enough, and just try to excel at what they have a passion about, and being a machine gunner will it takes months and years to really hone in your skill. It's not just something you learn in a 4 week course
Yeah,
in a couple
absolutely.
stints on a deployment.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a lot of like baseline skills that you have to have before you ever pick up that machine gun. A lot of weapon safety and manipulation basics and everything, and understanding the relationships between the weapon and your body, or the relationships between the round and the weapon itself, and how it fires and what it does, and then between that and the target and gravity itself, and everything there translates to now you don't get to fire just one round. You get to fire a shitload of them. Like, depress the trigger, let it go. All right, not long enough. Don't fuck up the gun. Quit milking the trigger. Blah blah blah. Get kicked in the head or hit with a cleaning rod, whatever it is. But like, man, that is what I strive to accomplish here on Talking Guns, which is not just here's the knowledge, take it as gospel, but here's knowledge here. Here's what it comes from. Here's multiple references where I pull this from. Here's the whys of how this happens. But I really encourage you, and I encourage everybody to dig in and find out for yourself. Ask some questions for yourself of why this goes this. Ask me some questions. I'll give you some answers, but go look for them.
Yeah, and so essentially what happens is I took that mindset from when early on as a machine gunner, me realizing that it's going to take more than me just accepting the norm to be a great machine gunner. There's more I use that in every aspect of life. So, early on, I knew I wanted to write a few books. I knew I wanted to write and share some stories, and not really. I wanted to be the military fictional writer that took experiences from what I went through, but make an awesome story that I feel like people would read.
Yeah,
And in order to do that, I was like, you know what? I need to take 4 years of my life and get my bachelor's in intelligence studies and really understand the science and the data and the
yeah.
information
The
behind
subject
what
matter
clicks.
behind what you're going to be writing about. Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
huge. I think
Um,
I think writing a good story is, I mean, it's difficult, but at the same time, there's somebody who already drew a map for us, right? Now it's Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces.
yep.
It This one's awesome because it draws the entire like cycle of the hero into these neat little compartments where you can have chapters for the story broken up in this way. Star Wars is a great example of something that's built off of that. But there are things from way before even Star Wars that exhibit the same properties, which is like pretty much all of Greek mythology. I think the only mythology in history that really doesn't follow that same type of archetypical line is Norse mythology, because they go based off of every god is really just an emotion, but it's different.
Yeah, and I think what's important is like just so everyone's clear, I don't know anything about construction, right? I don't know anything about. If you look at all this stuff hanging in my lounge right now, like none of it's straight, none of it's like anchored correctly. But so how
Yeah.
am I a chief operating officer to second in command of a multi-million-dollar construction company in 7 states right now?
Well, swinging a
And
hammer is not your job.
exactly, and so that's what I keep telling these people is like when I first met these guys and was like consulting for a management role, like leadership and whatnot, and just kind of giving whatever kind of insight I could give, they could take the advice or leave the advice, whatever they wanted to do. I was there to at least offer something up. It took me long, long hours at night to kind of research like how does production work at a construction company? How does operations work at a construction company? How do you make these revenue numbers meet anticipated profit margins? Nothing that you learned in the Marine Corps as a machine gunner.
No,
So
not a
uh,
thing.
absolutely, people like the any grunt for any MOS can learn and use what they've learned to be skilled tradesmen or skilled at their craft and take that to the next level and really hone in on new levels of education and skills and everything they can do to get great jobs and become great business owners and stuff when they get out, right? So use the Marine Corps for everything they're worth, right? I made sure I got my Lean Six Sigma before I got out. I made sure I got my master's degree as soon as the tuition assistance paid for it. Like I was going to get mine. Right? Yeah. I gave enough blood and tears and years overseas where I was going to get mine. And I encourage everybody to do that because, again, the Marine Corps is going to tell you be a Marine 24/7. I think you should be more than that. I think people should be like you, right? You're a Marine 24/7. Plus, you're doing the Talking Guns show. There's nothing in the boot camp that says go create a podcast or a show to make yourself better. You do that on your own. And I think that's what everybody should do. Go beyond what you're being told is your best.
That's why I read. I do a lot of reading. I love me some fiction. I love me some nonfiction. I like psychology books. I like, even relationship books are kind of cool because, you're never going to go through your entire life without meeting another person or talking to other people. So managing your communication skills and managing relationships interpersonally, whether with your significant other or with a person that you just met, like negotiating strategy or anything, is going to be important.
But you're still going beyond, right? Because those books aren't on the Commandant's reading list. I can promise
you that. They are not. Like Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, not on the Commandant's reading list. It should be.
Absolutely. So you're living this dream, right? Like, hey, they're telling me what I should read, but I'm going to go beyond that, right? And
absolutely.
I tell you, man, like what really pushed me, and I tell you, here's the real reason why I published The American Terrorist. You want to know the real reason that I wrote a book and published this author? Was because an XO told me that I was an illiterate, dumb, enlisted grunt that couldn't read someone's fit rep and tell a Marine how his writing should go on his fit rep.
Wow. Yeah.
3 months later, I published American Terrorist and sold 300 copies in 3 days. Like, okay. Okay. Let's test me. Let's go. Like,
very well. Challenge accepted.
That's people need drive. They just need to find out what their drive is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Being told that you can't for a lot of Marines is enough reason to do.
Absolutely. 100%.
Oh yeah. I mean that's dude. That's like alpha as fuck.
Yeah. I mean that's how I live my life, man. Like if someone's gonna tell me I can't do something, I will figure out how to do it and do it as best as I can. And there's times I failed at that, right? Like crap, man, that dude was right. I can't do it, but I at least tried.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, so I'm gonna try to compete now in jiu-jitsu because it's not so much that I think I'm gonna be great or anything, but I think I'm gonna be all right. I got some friends that'll tell me I'm gonna do all right, and I'm definitely got some friends that are gonna tell me you're gonna get fucking crushed. But I don't care. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to see what I got, and it's going to be a win either way just because I'm going to compete, and it'll be a first time going to compete in a tournament against people that I've never met before. Wrestling was different. That's high school, right? The rules are pretty clear in high school. You can't choke them, you can't fuck with their joints. But in jiu-jitsu, there's so much more, and I love this. So I've been training pretty hard and focusing a lot on my technique and everything, and after I get done with this next week, beginning next week, I'm really going to dig into my professor and start trying to find some more stuff beyond like just the self-study and what I think looks cool with using lapels to subdue joints or to use chokes with, or, different ways of takedowns or like studying judo for better takedowns and everything. I want to find out the whys this isn't going to work and the whys or the how to overcome it when it doesn't. For the most part, that's what I do every time I lose. Every time I lose, I try to pick it apart and find out why what I tried didn't work and how I can make it work if I do it a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I think people should be doing that in every aspect of every ambition they have, right? And honestly, I think they should do it while they're getting a paycheck, right? So
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
think like that is what helped me out was I did this stuff and I still did my Marine Corps duties and excelled through my Marine Corps duties, but at the same time when it was my time, it was my time, and I
Yeah.
tried to figure out what could make me happy and what could propel me because um, that's a lot harder to do, right?
Yeah.
So same for you for jujitsu. Like if you were out of the Marine Corps, wasn't getting a paycheck, would you be as dedicated to the craft then as you are now? It's hard to
Yeah.
tell. Like we could sit here and what if all day, but
Yeah.
like I'm all about, hey, let me perfect what I'm doing right now, and then I have a few extra hours for the day. Let me perfect something
Well,
else.
yeah, and that ties into like the shit. Like, what are you worried about, right? And what do you worry about? Meaning, like you said, do it while you're collecting the paycheck, because right now, they'll tell you be a Marine 24/7, right? Be a Marine 24/7. You're only a Marine 24/7 about 7 months out of every 2 years and stuff while you're deployed. All right, then you worry about it. For the most part, though, you're a Marine 8 hours a day, wearing the uniform, driving into work, driving from work. Maybe you have to come in for a piss test. Maybe you get called after hours to deal with some bullshit and stuff. You're always you're always dad or you're always big brother. Yeah, you're that 24/7. Absolutely. But you have time to do other things. You have time to school. You have time to train. You have time to develop yourself for the other 16 hours out of the day. Well, 8 hours if you're sleeping 8 hours a day. I mean, Elon Musk says like 6 hours is enough for him. I mean, cool. I mean, some of us like to drink, so we might need to pile on another hour per beer. But
And it happens all
yeah,
the time, right? Like
yeah,
look at like the machine gunners at ITB who are instructors.
oh
Like
yeah,
we want you to be the best instructor, a combat instructor at ITB. But how many of those instructors are like, you know what? I got an extra couple hours a day. Let me go get another MOS while I'm here.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
or
and that's not terribly difficult. Like if you're on outposts and stuff like that, what? I mean, you got a couple of weeks. You got to come to work anyway. I mean, and they're gonna keep you there. What are you gonna do? Move stuff around in the fucking gunny locker, or are you gonna sit around in the classroom like learning stuff that you already know half of? Take a
yeah.
test at the end of the week. Easy day.
And when it comes down to it, here's the simple reality of it. Like anybody can take 30 minutes a day and write part of a book, and
Oh
then
yeah,
6 months down the road, you can publish your own book. Like it's not that hard. Anybody can do it. All the authors of the world want you to think it's hard because they don't want to compete with you. So they
yeah.
put out big stuff, and they're like, "Oh, it's so hard to get it published." It's not hard at all. Anybody can do it. Anybody can publish a book. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. I mean, it's extremely difficult to get to the top because that number one spot. I mean, that's Stephen King's spot. Clearly, right there, eye level. Grab this book. Here's my name in friggin' bold print and stuff. Bestseller in the first week and everything. That's hard to compete with. Newer writers are going to have a hard time, yes, but based off of your content, it's going to get better. If you're good, I mean, if you're good, you're going to get up there. You're going to move up a place at a time and stuff. But you can't expect to be like selling millions of copies as soon as you release, unless you
well,
have a
yeah,
good network. I mean, if you have a good network, like Scott Husing, excellent network, writing about something that's extremely interesting and stuff like Echo and Ramadi, great fucking book. Two four Marines out in Ramadi, just freaking hooking and jabbing, getting it, and you get a lot of buy-in from dudes our age that have been there, that have done that shit, that know about it, and it's like, you know what? I remember my story from Najaf, and you remember your story from Fallujah. What the fuck was going on in Ramadi? Well, let's find out. I mean,
yeah, and Scott did it great, and I think that it all depends on your outlook and what your ambition is, and I think Scott did it right. I've talked to Scott a few times. I love his book. I love his network, and I love how he promotes and advertises. Um, and Scott is the typical, like he wants to be an author. He did a nonfiction book about his time of Echo Company and Ramadi.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job portraying it. Great. I love his layout and his format.
Yeah.
I've actually taken, and from reading his book, I've idolized his format, and I feel like I want to use part of his formatting for my nonfiction book when I talk about from machine guns to executive leadership when I publish that book.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, like people like me, I'm not aspiring to be a big time author and living my life and being number
Yeah.
one. And people need to realize that, right? Just by me publishing a fiction book and telling a story that people actually enjoyed and people want to read book two, but just by saying and going on LinkedIn and putting published author under
Yeah.
my name, my
Oh,
title,
look,
that takes it to a whole new level.
that's a whole new level. You've got like achievement unlocked.
Exactly. And it's like, it don't matter if you sell one book or a million books. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as you sell one, you're a published author, son.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Now I got to publish a book. I was trying to write a book my first fucking deployment. Like I was on guard for like a month before we went, and I had this crappy laptop. I was on like guard for like a month, and then we were floating for like a month and a half. So between the times that I wasn't like sitting on the forecastle getting classes and stuff, getting the sun beat on my face while the ship's going up and down, and Sergeant Nemosaurus Rex is freaking trying to drill into my head all these things about route reconnaissance because it was in cat. Like,
and here's the thing: I think people are gonna hate me for saying this, but guess what?
Yeah.
There's a lot more. There's not as much to doing this entrepreneur thing that people think there is.
No. It's, you can't just sum it up in the word grind either. I mean,
exactly.
There's this guy Rick Shermer. He's actually pretty funny. He sums it up pretty much in one hashtag: launch. Just go. Just launch. Just keep going. Keep your propulsion. Keep your freaking momentum going and stuff like that, and go. But first you have to initiate that launch. If you don't launch, you're not going anywhere.
And it took me long hours and long stressful nights to figure out my first book and how to publish it and how to get the cover right and how to do this, how to do that. But guess what? The simple fact is you can go pay some dude on Fiverr $5 and they'll create a book cover for you.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You can pay some dude in another country $300 and they'll write an entire book for you. Like
there's a shitload of artists out there on Instagram. You just gotta follow one freaking one of those weird fucking cute artsy chicks that paints their face and shit like that, but also has canvas. Follow her and then like see who she follows, and whoever the hell she follows, if they got what you want, boom. Like,
I mean, you could pay $15, and there's a dude on Fiverr that I've used before, right? I've done this before. I paid $15. They've given me 5 T-shirt designs, and I'll go sell 500 T-shirts from those 3 designs that cost me $15. So that's the whole point, right? Like
that's a hustle. That's a fucking legit side hustle.
I mean, you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point to it, right?
Yeah.
You can settle to be the machine gunner that goes out of basic machine guns course. You go out there, you deploy, you fight wars, you get out, you go to the VFW, and you go to the bar every night and you just live your life. Or you can go beyond that and you can do whatever the crap you want to do.
Oh yeah.
And nobody can tell you like, no, man, you're not going to be good enough or you're not doing enough, because you can do anything.
Yeah, anything. Like I look at my future when I retire. Like, all right, so I didn't get a degree. My goals don't require one. I'm not looking for that. I mean, I'm not amassing a shitload of freaking technical school bills or skills or anything like that. I mean, I have things that I am capable of doing and that I'm willing to learn with my hands and with my brain and with a little bit of research on like YouTube, or even just buy a book. Like, I can fucking work on my own car and stuff because, well, YouTube helps, but buying a book from AutoZone helps too. Shit, then you know something.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? The hard part is everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's doing their own thing, and everyone's trying to achieve this entrepreneur title, and and just making their own. And I guess my thought process on that is go on and do it. Like,
Yeah.
One of two things is going to happen. You're going to fail or you're going to succeed. There's no in between.
Yeah. I mean, there's more that you can do with very little too. I mean, even just being like a small time entrepreneur that's pulling in so much, if you have disposable income, maybe it's not quite so disposable to you. Maybe that's investment income. Maybe that's going into freaking cryptocurrency or some other form of investment that you think is, have an allocation to some sort of high risk investment, and you're going to get a return. You just got to be smart about how you turn it over and just not freaking invest in something that's going to tank.
And it just goes back to the original thought process of, once again, like, don't settle for, I'm going to be the very best Marine I can be 24/7, because you can be a badass, awesome Marine and be the best Marine you can be and do more.
Yeah.
And now's the time. If I hadn't have done what I did as an active duty Marine, and instead of getting 8 hours of sleep, I only got 4 hours of sleep a night and did my own thing, I would not be where I am today. I would just have retired, and right now I'd probably be finding a job that is probably some type of operations manager or something down the road that would be great. It would be awesome, and I think the people who are doing that is doing great, and they're not becoming homeless, and they're kicking ass out there.
Yeah.
But if you want to achieve more, it's available out there for you to achieve more and do a lot more. And I want to be able to say, like, I did everything that I said I wanted to do, and I've achieved more than that, and I'm happy where I'm at, and who knows the next step that could happen, like.
Yeah. I think that's
morning,
great.
I'm getting up at 4:00 in the morning, getting on a plane, and I'm going to the Dave Ramsey EntreLeadership Summit.
Oh, hell yeah. Old Dave Ramsey
out there. George Bush is going to be out there. A ton of key speakers, and like, whoever would have thought that I could do that as a Marine and doing stuff as a Marine and doing that,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like on the same lines as like, I mean, first of all, Dave Ramsey, awesome, badass, by the way. Friggin' listening to that show when I was out there in North Carolina, like pretty much every morning, and him doing like the whole thing with the debt-free scream. That shit's great. Love
yeah,
that.
man. I cannot, and I don't want to act like I feel like I'm high and mighty, and I'm doing this great stuff. To tell you the truth, I'm super just grateful to be able to do that kind of stuff. And I want it to be known that the enlisted Gunny that did the 5 combat deployments in his career, who thought he could never get anywhere but manning a machine gun on a Walmart rooftop, able to do these kind of things and meet these kind of people and learn. And that's the whole point, right? Is enhancing your skill and your craft, like you've said. Like,
well, yeah, you didn't set yourself limits or boundaries. You didn't freaking follow down. It's like a mouse in a freaking maze. I mean, all you gotta do is get on top of the wall, and you can go fucking anywhere. So if you don't
better believe I'm gonna have my brain monster. And when Dave Ramsey says, "Hey man, to be successful, you gotta wake up and do 3 cartwheels every morning," I'm like, "Oh, 3 cartwheels every morning." Like, that's what Dave Ramsey said.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. Like, the thing is, you can't nobody gets to paint you into a box or like freaking, drop you into a maze and make you just follow this way to get to the fucking cheese. It doesn't work that way. Like, there is a third dimension that you can climb over the top of the wall and you can get out of that, and you absolutely did that. You found ways outside of just that daily grind of going to the job or putting on the uniform, clipping on your chevrons and stuff, tightening up that belt and freaking getting into work and stuff, rolling sleeves in the summer kind of bullshit. Everything. Beyond just focusing on that, you focused on you, and you focused on the things that you're capable of doing instead of letting other people tell you what you should be doing. Don't. Yeah. Do that. I mean, there's no reason that any Marine can't find something that's niche to them. There's nothing in the Marine Corps that says, maybe with this skill that we've given you, you can be a Hollywood actor. I don't know. Maybe interviewing could be one of those, but whatever. Tactical questioning can get you on whose line is it anyway. Now you're Drew Carey doing prices right. But like there's no box there. Every person has their own passion, their own want, their own need. Something that they actually excelled at, because you got 18 years of life, forming the things that you wanted to before you ever, pinned on the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor. That's the thing. You had all of this development before then. That didn't just stop when you went to recruit training and you just became a blank slate. Now you're a freaking, non-player character as a Marine. You're still a live player. You still make mistakes, or you still find things to do. And that's huge. You can keep on doing that to the day you get out, whether it's at the 4-year mark, it's the 20-year mark, or the 30-year mark. You can be something.
And I think that it's important to state, like, there's so much more that goes on and that's happening than what's in your head. Right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I knew that I was able to impact the young Marines and SOI, man. I remember SOI. So I had a guy, Tyler Illian, I trained him. He was my machine gun section in Afghanistan in Marja. And then his brother was actually one of my students at SOI that I had no idea until halfway through. But wow. We're at the 50 cal package, and a bat had gotten into our barracks, and a bat was flying around. And I'll tell you, man, this happened, and it became a legend, right? So I was in my office, and I'm like, man, what's all this screaming going on? Like, they're supposed to be training. There's a daggum test tomorrow. Like, if we got to get 80%, right? So I walked out, and there's a bat flying around. People are screaming and hollering. And I'm telling you, man, like, I walked up to a 50 cal. They're doing the distant ass practice, and I pulled a dry spring out, swung it one time, miraculously hit the bat and killed it. Covered in blood, put it back in the 50 cal, said, "Get that carcass out of here." Went back to my office. I became a legend. You just never know.
Oh God!
You just never know what your actions can impact others. And
bat blood is just lube for the range, dog.
So I say that because in India 325, I worked with a staff sergeant here, and we were just talking and BSing one day, and he said, "Wait a minute, you're that Marine." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're the Marine that on 20th Street, when Newsweek was there, you're the one that got shot in the Kevlar from the sniper, and was on the Newsweek thing and got flown out with the through and through, went out the back of your Kevlar." I'm like, "Yeah, that was me, man." He's like, "You're a legend up north to us. Like, your story essentially drove our entire battalion to go and assault through and do a mission because of what happened to you." And like stuff like that, you never know. Like, you just don't know that ever occurs until someone tells you that. And so you just never know what impact you have on any person at any time, at every moment of your life, and what you could essentially affect the future of. And you seen, I posted the video yesterday from my retirement of the Marines jumping on there and telling their stories and stuff. And like, half that stuff you just don't know. You don't know what's actually going through people's heads and what you have on other people's lives.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Big time. Like, I've never been all right, I'm kind of a big fan of myself. I have a podcast. I kind of like rewatching my video after I record. Cool.
No big deal.
The most beautiful fucking sound that I could ever hear is the sound of my own voice. No, like, man, when I was a corporal, like, I was fucking held up pretty high for like one thing that I did. But as soon as I left that battalion and I was no longer like connected with this, huge freaking populace that had like the majority of them knew my name and knew who I was and wouldn't fuck with me and everything. I was like, oh my God, this Corporal Renfro dude's a fucking monster, right? And it wasn't for hazing and shit like that. It was for when I got blown up and fucking dragged all my boys out of the truck and fucking patched up their legs and did all that shit and dismounted my 240 and was like, fucking fuck them, right? And then that was cool until I changed units. Then I fucking learned it's like, oh god, I'm nothing. I'm nobody again, and that's okay, and that's fine. But you have to hone your reputation every single day. You have to earn that shit every day. Every day that you
Oh,
freaking,
for sure.
I mean, wake up and be a dude, be a bro. Freaking reinforce that you actually have a reason to be here, like a good purpose for existing. That's cool, but like, shit, be a be a freaking useful member of the team. That's a big thing. I
Yeah,
learned that as
and
soon as I left there.
that's kind of the framework for my company and warriorship and what we're pushing out here in the next few weeks is the teamwork of it and basically kind of my philosophy behind it is there's three elements to being a good member of the team, and that's faith, trust, and courage, right? And
Yeah.
so you got to have faith that the people above you, your leaders, your commanders, the people who are in charge in and out of the military have your best interests and know what they're doing, right? Because once you start doubting them, doubt will creep through your entire team, and
Oh yeah.
there's no recovering from that.
Yeah, it's like
You
a
have
poison. It causes a sickness and it infects every freaking system of the body.
Absolutely. And then you got to trust that your other team members on your team at your current level have your back and will do whatever it takes to accomplish whatever mission you're doing and not essentially throw you in their bus or all that stuff. You got to trust the other team members because once you stop trusting them and you're second guessing what they're doing, then you can't be effective in your own way. And then
Yeah, it's like
also,
amputating a part of your body.
yep. And then you got to have courage to not I don't want to say courage to like do things that other people won't do, but I think it's important that you have courage to do things that make you uncomfortable, right? And that's one of the things that we go through now is like, and that's how I'm living my life even as the COO of this large company we're doing is you got to have courage to do the things that make you uncomfortable, because if you don't and you push that on other people, you then begin to bog down their processes, and overall it affects you as an entire company. And so that FTC is kind of the thing I'm pushing out in the next few weeks for warriorship is, faith that your leaders have your best interests in mind, trusting your people, your comrades to have your back, and then having the courage to do the things that make you uncomfortable so you don't push them on other people.
Yeah,
And I think
that
that's
sounds like a
important.
book to me. Faith,
Huh.
trust, and courage.
I
It
mean,
sounds like
where's my,
leadership strategy and
where's
tactics,
my
but at the same
notes, man?
time,
I need to take
sounds
some
like a
notes on
book.
this. Listen, I'll give you 1%, 1% commission.
I mean, there's a title right there. Give me a shout out in the acknowledgments.
It's just like, I don't want to say the cliche stuff like, oh, you learn this stuff in the Marine Corps, and it's not that. It's you learn this stuff through free thought, and you just actually thinking through like what you do on a day-to-day basis and how you do stuff to make people better. And like the doctrine is one thing, but going beyond the doctrine and actually having your own thoughts and thinking through things is what makes people great. Um, it's like you can read the pub every day that says jump on a grenade when it's thrown in front of you. That doesn't mean jump on a grenade, right?
No.
It takes free thinking, and people are like, oh, you know what? If I do this, I could save others, and then bam, you jump on a grenade. Like,
Hector Cafarata never played baseball or fucking stickball a day in his life, and yet he's out there in the frozen chosen batting away fucking nades with an e-tool and shit like that, like he's fucking Babe Ruth,
yeah,
just throwing it out there.
absolutely, man. Like that's the whole philosophy I live by. Is like stop allowing people to tell you what your best is and define and create your own best, right? So everybody who reaches for the clouds will never reach the stars, but they think the clouds is the best they can do. But every single person that reaches for the stars have a 9 out of 10 chance of passing through the clouds and bypassing their best. So
That's it.
like stop creating or letting people tell you what the best for you is and define your own, because you never know what you could achieve or where you're going, man.
Yeah. Like setting short-term, mid-range, and long-term goals is a big thing, but always having that long-term goal in mind is going to be that's the epitome. That's where you want to go. And if you set that bar low, I mean, you're fucking cheating yourself. Set that bar high as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Set that long-term goal
agree.
high as fuck. And those short-term goals or those mid-range goals, those exist as a place for you to reward yourself. It's like to say, like, I got all this fucking shit to do around my house, you know, mow the lawn, do the laundry, freaking, you know, wash the dishes and all that kind of shit, right? I'm not going to wait until the entire house is clean to congratulate myself with a beer and watch a movie. I'm going to pick away at these things a piece at a time, and I'm going to say, you did good. And I'm going to treat myself like somebody that I'm responsible for, which is a rule from like 12 Rules for Life. Treat yourself like someone you're responsible for, like your own inner child, or like a dog that freaking does a good thing. You don't need them to learn all the tricks at once and then display them all before you give them a treat. One trick at a time. Do a trick at a time. Give yourself a fucking treat. Because psychologically, you need that. Like, inside, you fucking need that. Like, your little inner child needs you to keep that promise to yourself.
The same philosophy I brought. So all the companies I consulted for, the COVID collection, I did some stuff when I went to Woodco. That's one of the things that I always had talked about and always had said is like making, and I forget who said it. It's some smart dude somewhere. I wish I could give him credit, and I don't want to give credit to myself, but like make a small decision, execute that decision, and make another small decision, and that's how it'll go, right? It's not like you're saying I'm going to make the best podcast in the world, and bam, let's go do it. You know what? What's the next small decision to get better? Oh, I need a microphone.
Yeah.
Boom, there's a microphone. Oh, what's next? Oh, I need and it's just, you make a small decision, execute that decision, and then keep doing that. And eventually you'll get to where you're at. And that's how this company that I'm with now, you know, when I went there, there were 7 of us, there was like 7 of us there. And now we're at, 70 people in 7 cities. It's like, what's the next small decision? Oh, let's start a handyman program in Johnson City. Boom, done, go. Next. Oh, let's open up a sales representative in Asheville. Okay, done, go.
Like,
and it's just
like ship out some T-shirts with your logo on it and stuff like that. I mean, all you need is a couple of dudes to follow the rules, whatever like a code of conduct or like or morality code that exists and stuff like that. If these dudes can follow this, and they want to wear your fucking shirt, I mean, that gets your name out there. That's word of mouth. I mean, that's essentially advertisement. That's growth. That's growth. And the cool thing is, you don't necessarily have to pay them, but eventually you will, because once it gets there, once you plant roots there, you can freaking expand there. I mean, potentially. Yeah, man. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your business. I just had an idea. It just came out of my brain.
That's just how, like, obviously the way social media has grown and technology has grown over the last couple decades, the influencer program.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the win-lose of current business, and it's like everybody sees these influencers and see these people that are making great success, and like, I want to be like him, I want to be like her, I'm going to do exactly what they're doing, and that's just not the way it works.
No, they see the product, they don't see the grind.
Absolutely, like you don't see the man hours or the woman hours that was put into that absolute progress, and it's like.
They're not going to see the 2 or 3 freaking attempts at this episode that we had to scrap because the audio was fucked.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And people take this stuff for advantage, right? Like, at no point is someone saying, like, let's go hang out with one of my old buddies and do a podcast and see what happens. Like, yeah, this is not going to make me and you $1 million, but it's going to connect with some people. And hopefully one person sees this show and it's like, you know what, that makes sense. And you just never know. And you gain that follower, you gain that thing. And
what I really like about it is, like, interpersonally and stuff like that, just between one and one, you and me, this like solidifies like more of a freaking it like solidifies more of a freaking connection and stuff like that, a more solid network, to where it's like I'm gonna be more comfortable reaching out to you, and you're gonna feel the same with me, right?
Yeah,
and that's
I'm here to have fun.
And that's one of those things when it's fun and when it's cool, and when you get to drink beer. I mean, I've been doing this shit since like freaking, well, long before 1775. But like drinking beer, bullshitting is how men have gotten things done since the beginning of time.
Yeah. And I'm under no pretense to say, you know what, when I get on that show with old Joe, man, I'm gonna make a couple $100
I'm gonna
and
blow up.
like no, like
It's
you
like,
just here to
man,
have
I
fun.
got like 60 subscribers.
And that's just what happens, man. And it's like it's the same thing with these companies that I'm working with and I'm doing stuff with. It's just at first it was like I'm just here to have some fun. I'm just here to see what I can figure out, and that's what the challenge was, right? Um, Figuring out the demographic and production analysis for Knoxville market. I didn't do that because I was like, you know what? If I show this to Joe and John and Josh, they'll hire me on and the company. No, like I was like, you know what? This is actually interesting, and I'm interested in what this is going on. I go and do that analysis and do some research and some market research. I'm like, you know what? This is actually an interesting find. And you send that to them like, hey, this is what I looked up. This is kind of what I found. I talked to these people, and that's kind of what gets you into those next positions. And I, I just encourage people to say, you know what, that could be interesting what the outcome is. Let me go out there and just do my own thing. I don't need to land or receive some sort of compensation for this. I'm just doing this because it's interesting to me and I want to see what the outcome is.
Yeah, and hopefully this is a good one. I don't know what the hell's going on with my Talking Guns page, so I'm gonna have to investigate on that if it's sitting there in a in like limbo right now, or just open up a new one and see how that buffs out, and then dump all my videos onto there. But man, like I want to try to get some growth, and that's okay. But I do have a target population. It's machine gunners, former machine gunners, freaking like prospective machine gunners and stuff. I mean, not necessarily like, from Uganda or like, the Philippines, but I guess they can watch it too. That's fine. I
Yeah,
mean,
and like I'm with you, man. Like I would love. So my dream is, and I have it in the works. I have an LLC filed already, trying to get this going. But I would love to have a website to where veterans are able to tell their stories through either a podcast or a blog type deal, and have people donate money that goes directly towards those veterans to where, hey man, like I want you to share your story. I want you to hold nothing back.
yeah.
Share whatever thing you want to do. I'm going to give you $300 for doing
Oh
that
yeah.
and go out your element.
I
And
make I make
I'm not,
$0 from
yeah,
Talking Guns. This thing is
exactly.
it's a friggin' money pit for me because the lights, they suck energy, the computer sucks energy. I buy a
You know,
microphone. I need to upgrade my computer. Like, it costs money. Like Zoom to like host my own meetings after like a month or whatever like that started costing me money, and that's fine because I love this. This is a labor of love. It's a
it's
thing that
all
I
about
like to do. This is
It's
yeah.
all about the product, man. Like I just want to be able to allow because I know that by writing The American Terrorist, it helped me release a few things that kind of just like bottled up inside of me and I wanted to share with people.
Yeah.
And and but not every single person is capable of going out there and writing a book and sharing that stuff. And I want to make that and it's not a business that where I'm going to make money off of. I'm not here to make money off that kind of company.
Yeah.
It's one for one. Like people donate money, that goes straight to veterans who want to share their story and allows them access to do so. And I think that's important. But in the long run, let's not BS people here. And let's not be untransparent on the fact it could actually gain you viewers and growth to other businesses to where you can make money.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. That's the could. And I like the could. It sounds good. I mean, that'd be really freaking cool if that happened, right? But
But
I
that's
mean,
not the point behind getting veterans to share their stories and release.
yeah. All right, let's do that. I think I think our connection went to crap here for a second. Hold on. There we go. All right, let's do this again. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. There we go. Got it. Back in frame, and we're set. The connection went to shit for a sec, and then I started moving around the screen. Started doing weird hiccups. It's fucking amateur hour over here at Talking Guns. But man,
that's that 7.2%, man, is screwing you up.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's like my CPU usage is up at like 32 right now, and that's not so bad. But when I get a freaking better computer, this is why I have to invest into the thing, right? When I get a better, faster computer that has better network speed, better ability to freaking upload and download, it's going to be smoother, it's going to be finer. And when I decide to reconfigure how my fucking house is and not have my studio as far away from the router as possible, which is a mistake. I get it. All right, location. It's going to be better quality. But damn, do that Instagram freaking notifications really start eating up at it. So I had to unplug that one from the Wi-Fi. And I think that's what caused the hiccup was the whole reconfigure of the router to say, oh, these are the new conditions.
Yeah, for sure.
And that. I mean, that goes right back to what the hell we were talking about, which was figure out why it does the things that it does.
Yeah, and like to give some hope out to people, and so our company is we joined this, contractor profit kind of organization that helps us build profit and build our processes and everything. And so basically what that entails is like us getting part of a Facebook group where it's just these people who are part of this company that are allowed to get in there, and it's a bunch of CEOs and COOs and executive leadership of these contracting companies. And of course, so I got on there and did my introduction, tell them who I am, and you just won't believe the amount of companies that say, you know what? Yeah, man, like our operations guy is a prior military guy, retired military. Our executive guy is a retired Air Force guy. Like all these companies have these retired or transitioned military people who are just out there kicking ass, and so these companies are looking for people like us who spent a long time in the military and learned how processes and make things happen and how we get stuff done.
Yeah, being savvy in process is a huge thing. Like
how do I get the armory to go faster, right? Like how do I get guns cleaned and turned in faster so we're not here until 9 o'clock, we can actually go home at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean that's like a huge thing, and that was a kind of a hurdle for me because I wasn't about like using all the freaking what was it, the Skintimate freaking like shaving cream to clean out barrels and stuff. Like, dude, we got rifle bore cleaner and we have the actual tools that are meant to do this. First, let me take some time. Let me teach you how every piece is supposed to work. Let me teach you how the combination tool fucking scraper extractor is supposed to work with the weapon system to get all this shit out so you're not freaking digging into it with a Gerber. All right? And let me teach you which brush to use at what point so you're not sitting there freaking scrubbing with an AP brush across the entire fucking barrel and trying to dig into the freaking rifling with it. It ain't going to happen. Doing those things, putting a little bit of work in on instruction on the front end besides here's the nomenclature of all the SL3 equipment. Here's how it fucking works, dude. Like, you're not going to get that in your formal class when you're sitting down. But you're going to get that when you're sitting in the squad bay with your instructor and he wants these fucking weapons turned in like no later than 09 tomorrow and shit like that so we can pull marks.
Yeah, and that's just kind of like the process you go through now. Like for me, like I have project managers. We're getting new project managers every 2 weeks now that come in a different city. And it's like, how do you get these people to understand the training and go through the same training that the rest of the guys are? And that's just where we're at right now, is trying to find ways to do what we're doing, like we did in the squad base, and be able to give that to every single person that comes into your company. And whether it's recording videos or set up drives or whatever you got to do, that it's just that's the thing you're trying to achieve, is how do we go from the squad bay talk to making it a multi-million-dollar business function.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make a suggestion if I may. May I?
Of course.
All right. So I think what's more effective than just videos and just, putting it out like, hey, here's the website, or here's the SharePoint, or here's whatever it is, log in, get a membership and stuff like that to it and everything, register to it, and then you can view these videos, which is like a 5 or 6 or even up to 20 step freaking process to get to this information. Send out an MTT. Like back in, all right, so this is how it worked for the Germans, because I love talking about dynamics of doctrine and stuff, and Ludendorff and freaking the changes with machine guns between 1914 and 1918 through the Germans in the First World War. I love talking about it because it's a damn good model. And they sent out these storm battalions, or these freaking machine gun only freaking battalions, to the fronts, to every freaking outpost and stuff like that, to not only train but also to do battle and basically have an expose on how this new method of fucking smoking bitches actually works. It got buy-in, and then everybody's there and they have to do it. So they have to freaking ingest this. It's not something that they have to go and seek out and read and consume for themselves, or watch and consume for themselves, or go through a 20-step process to find. It's something that comes to them. It's convenient. Bring it in. We've got freaking 2 to 4 hours of this training and stuff that we're going to provide to you, and all you have to do is be there to receive it. And you're getting paid to do it. So MTTs absolutely friggin' could help with the type of education and the type of training that you're trying to push out there.
Absolutely, and that's a huge downfall to a lot of companies right now, is finding the way to train and educate people and get them to at least understand what you're doing, right? And like for us, for instance, it's super hard because there's so many people coming in at a rapid pace. We can't send everybody we hire in our company to a 3-week SOI program. It's just impossible, because you need people to get in there and start working, because when someone leaves, you need someone to replace them.
Yeah, instead of sending 70 people to a program, send 2 or 3 people to them. Send 2 or 3 people to 10 people 7 times.
Yep, absolutely. And again, it's like, this is the stuff that we learn in the Marine Corps and the military that will help us kind of shape that function. And I think it's important that these young enlisted or officers that are just joining, like, hey, the stuff that you're doing day to day is essentially can set you up for a very successful future if you just pay attention and try to figure out what you're doing day to day. Like, enhance your craft, figure out what you're doing, and who knows what you could become.
Oh, I know, absolutely. Like, mastery isn't a check in the box. Mastery and professionalism. Yeah, it's mastery
not. Marine Corps is Marine Net.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much, and that's fucking bullshit. Because what real mastery is, it's not doing a thing until you get it right. It's doing the thing until you can't get it wrong.
Yep, for sure.
That's the real measure of true proficiency. Like, you look at freaking shooters out there and stuff like that. Any freaking gun bunny out there and stuff with their freaking AR-15 out on the range, with their back arched like this and leaning back and hitting herself in the eyeball with her fucking aim point. Like, they ain't Jade struck.
And the problem is that 9 times out of 10, man, that's good enough.
Yeah.
right?
And
So
that's good enough to put on the gram, but that's not good
absolutely,
enough to be a fucking like you look at someone like freaking Jade Struck or like freaking what's her name? The other chick that's on fucking Call of Duty. Fuck. Oh, I can't remember her
because
name.
the reason I say that is like
These
there's
chicks
a
are
company.
shooters.
We live in the mountains of Harrogate, right? There's a small town. We're up in the mountains, and there's a Marine. There used to be a Marine long ago. Did 4 years in the Marine Corps. Got out, opened up a shooting range down the road here,
Yeah.
and like not great skills, not great proficiency, but people eat it up.
Oh yeah.
And it's like if you could go there and if you could create, and he does well, but if you could create a function that is 10 times better than what he provides, now you just became a competitive market that can take over that competition,
Oh
and
yeah.
now you're going to do so much better than him. And so
Oh,
you can
big time.
settle for the basic foundations of marksmanship and open up some crazy little range that you can make $30,000 a year off and you're fine and you can live off that, or you
Yeah.
can enhance your craft and just demolish that market and be like, no, this is the real deal because I've spent this much time honing in my craft, and all of a sudden you've turned it into a couple $100,000 business compared to the other guy.
Yeah. That's what I love about a guy like Clint Smith, right?
Yep.
Dude's fucking 70 some shit years old. Like he's old as fuck. And he's been running a range up in Oregon, Thunder Ranch since like the 1980s and making videos since like, you know, he's an old 0311 from back in Nam, and he started with just basic Marine Corps tactics and a little bit of freaking close quarter battle and freaking mostly weaponeering, how to use the M16 or how to use the fucking carbine and shit. And he built that more than just here's how to use a carbine, how to fucking like plink targets at freaking 1, 2, 3, and 500 yards, but he worked that into friggin' platforms and friggin' stances and movement and everything else. It's, I mean, it's not quite up there with like you got guys like Lamb, Ronin Tactics that are friggin' teaching some wild fucking crazy awesome shit. But on a 5-day seminar, you're not gonna consume all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can consume the basics,
Yep.
like all the same little freaking things that we would say, like when we're training dudes in Mountown and stuff like that. Like, there's no right way to get up the fucking stairs. All right, get up there. Just
Yeah.
do it. All right.
Exactly. Like there's no right way to open and build a business. Just start building a business.
Just do it.
You fall down, you get back up, and you're like, oh, well, better not do that
Yep.
again.
Yep. Exactly.
It's the people who keep doing the same thing and keep falling down, and they're like,
Yeah.
man, this is going to work eventually. Like, no, like
Yeah.
you fall down, get back up, try something different, and eventually you'll be like, okay, here we go.
It's what they say in the movies. It's like the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and
Yep.
expecting a different result.
Yep.
I don't know whose original quote that was. Some smart dude like Einstein or some shit.
Somebody.
Some 10-pound head out there.
Right. Man, probably, I think it was Jeff Sabins.
Yeah, could have been him. Yeah, yeah, dude.
Oh, man.
Hell yeah. That, yeah, man. I mean, we're coming up on like, we're a little bit after an hour now and stuff, and I think it's been fucking great. I think it's been productive, and we've pushed on past the major meat of the episode, and we're about done with beer number 2, so we're into bullshit mode.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm so tired of people accepting the norm and accepting the crap that they're being given, and they're just like, yep, okay.
Yeah. All right, what's going on here? I gotta pause. All right.
Yeah. So, like, I think about and I'm not gonna name any names, but he was the clerk for us. He was the company clerk back in one of my battalions and one of my companies. But he got out of the Marine Corps, started his own clothing company, and he's kicking ass right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right. And I never would have thought, to be completely honest, I never would have thought he would be the person to do that. Right. But that's just, I mean, the people who you don't expect to go out there and just grind and get this done and do these things. I mean, he's just out there hustling right now, putting in the grind every day.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a large company just kicking ass. And it's like, anybody can do it, man. Anybody can do it.
Yeah, like
anybody can do a podcast. Just go out there and do it.
Yeah, like my boy Barry, runs War Pig Apparel, where friggin' Talking Gun shirts are made. Let me just plug that in there shamelessly, right?
War Pig. I got one on Wednesday.
Yeah, and so when he was my boot, like, I mean, obviously, I thought he was tight. I thought he was freaking aggressive. He was good on freaking tactics. He could freaking hit this shit. But man, I didn't think much of him as far as being intelligent or really anything else beyond being fucking just a good grunt. And here he is now. He's got this big family. Leads this family. He's got like 2 businesses that he runs, and he's still working as like an electrician and stuff. So he knows more about like printing and vectoring and friggin' inks and paints and everything like that than I could friggin' learn in a year. Like, he's already been through this, and he's self-taught because he decided to grind and he decided to go and friggin' like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep on doing it. And he runs his business. He runs his webpage. He runs his social media. He makes all of these happen and stuff like that himself. I mean, man, he could delegate a little bit and everything, and that could possibly give him a little bit more time. But he fucking kills it. Sells like thousands of shirts a month, and just rocks it. And I'm loving it. I'm like,
yeah, man, and
that's my boy. He blew me away.
That's what kind of drove me to start to start warriorship. Right? Is like people keep like, especially nowadays, like, we think of a warrior. What's a warrior, right? We think of Vikings, or we think of Game of Thrones, or we think about the people
Spartans.
who are deploying, covered in tattoos, and like, yeah, there's like, trust me, I'm the guy that wants to be covered in tattoos and out there hitting the weights every day and loving my life. But that's not the way that all warriors are based upon, right? Like, what about the dad that the kid is swinging on a swing and it goes so high he falls backwards, and without hesitation he reaches over and catches his child, so he doesn't snap his neck on the ground? What about the mom that watches her daughter on the bike going down the hill and it's about to hit the hitch on the truck, and she dives in front of her daughter and it stops her from smacking her face on the hitch of the truck? Like,
the mom that can lift a car in an instant so it doesn't run over her damn baby. That shit happened.
Yeah, like that, and that's where I founded warriorship. Is I wanted to make it a point to say, hey, there's warriors in every part of life, and basically it's shaped upon the foundation of the mentality of no hesitation, protecting others, and like just out there doing what you think is needs to be done to help other people. And
I'm with that, because I mean, you look at the sheer size of like a Roman legion of like 6,000 men and stuff, built into fucking centuries of 80 and stuff, right? And these dudes didn't come out of nowhere. They weren't just born to be warriors. They were made to be warriors, yeah. They were made to be fighters. They were made to be soldiers and everything. But these dudes, like, they follow an ethos. They follow the ethos, one of those. I don't know, something about how you pronounce the name of one of these books that I have over here. But you follow this archetype that you learn about from childhood, the hero archetype, right? Your Hercules, or your Prince Charming, or whatever you are, whether you're slaying dragons or just doing the right thing at some point, you know, or taking upon you some great task and displaying courage and bravery in completing it, or even just rising to the occasion. Because you look at somebody like, here's another story, you look at somebody like Frodo Baggins, right?
Yeah, man.
Wee little hobbit from the Shire, but he's
Hop.
the old hobbit is a hero of the story, not because he's big and not because he's freaking all tatted up and stuff, or because he's been in a million battles, but his courage and perseverance and his ability to freaking put the mission first and have compassion. I mean, that's what makes him the hero. His indomitable will and his unsoured and I suppose like incorruptible heart. That makes the warrior.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it needs to be known that a lot of that is a mindset, right? Like, let's go back to Frodo Baggins, right? Like the dude, like when the dwarves kick open the door and they're in there singing their songs and talking about this stuff, like he doesn't know or believe he is what he is.
Yeah.
And that's the same for a lot of people right now. Like, you don't find the kids you go to boot camp, they're not got this warrior mentality when they go to boot camp. It's something that it's found. I don't want to say created. I don't want to say that we create warriors, but you help people find the inner warrior and go out there and do things. And I just heard a story today about on the news about a guy who seen a car go off the side of the bridge, and there was a 2-year-old little girl that was stuck inside the car, and he watched it happen, and he jumped into the river and swam underwater and got into the car and saved that little girl's life. And he's just some regular dude that is like going to the bank every day that works as a teller like that.
Yeah.
He is the essence of what warriorship is, right? The everyday person who has no fear to help somebody else in a time of crisis. And
your warrior case studies don't always have to be Audie Murphy or freaking Tony Stein. It can be a regular dude.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's kind of where I founded warriorship, to know that, or to push out the ideology that, hey, anybody can be what you watch on the shows and the movies. Anybody can be that person. It's just a mindset, and you taking that step towards becoming what you think you cannot become, but you actually can be.
Yeah. And that's not easy. And that's because typically an ideal is, I mean, to have an ideal, right, in your own mind and stuff, or like in your own perception, is to also have a constant judge, a judge of your character, to say that you're not living up to these values or these virtues that you would want in someone that you view as who you want to be. You're not that. There's no further to go. Like, you fucking suck. You're trash. But that judgment inside of you, I mean, that's that defeatist mentality that you can't allow to absorb you. To have an ideal isn't necessarily a sin. You can keep on pushing toward it, by all means. But the thing is, you can't judge yourself too harshly for the fact that you are not that ideal. You're working toward it. And that's where we have that, where we digress back into the long-term, mid-range, or the long-range, freaking mid-range and short-term goals. I mean, make little fucking steps and reward yourself, or recognize that it's happened. I mean, the reward for hard work is always, usually, I mean, in most cases, it's just the work being done itself. You're not going to get much more out of that. Not from anybody else. I mean, you can do the dishes and stuff, and your wife can come home and be like, well, you didn't put them back in the cabinet the way that I wanted them. And it's like, okay, motherfucker. But I did them.
Yeah,
So
everything's a mindset, man. It's all
yeah,
just a mindset.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Oh man, and a lot of times that it's just a matter of managing your expectations for yourself and managing your expectations for the world around you as well, because I mean it's an ever developing situation that you have to be adaptable to as things change, and it's okay. It's okay to say, all right, so this thing changed and it kind of tripped me up a little bit, but that's not a failure. It's a learning experience that I can keep on moving through. It's like when I try to go for a hip toss, and it gets fucking spoiled on me, and the next thing I know, I'm trying to go for like a shoulder throw, but then I get freaking sprawled and crushed to the ground. I'm not just gonna freaking sit there and turtle up, like sit there on freaking my elbows and my knees, and just turn into a ball and everything. No, dude, I'm gonna grab the opposite leg, put my head in their chest, and try to run for that fucking single. Try to run for that fucking single takedown and shit by changing levels, coming up, locking them between my knees, finish the takedown, and then I pass guard. That's like jujitsu terms for like I got the outcome that I wanted, but not by the immediate method that I wanted. I wanted it to be fast. I wanted it to be now. I had a whole plan going in. The plan got fucked up. Like, it gets fucked up at first contacts when your grips are bad. That's going to happen. All right? But if you just keep going, you're going to get the takedown. And if you do the things right, if you planned beyond the takedown, okay, now that I've got the takedown, I need to get that side control. You know? And those things are that's a measure of success beyond just the thing that you initially planned. The ability to adapt to the situation as it's changing is a greater success than just going through with a plan.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a piss break.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hit the whole pause button. All right, we're back.
Yeah, man. And so that goes into, like, think about the evaluation process that we do in the Marine Corps, like the fit rep process.
Yeah.
Have you, like, I've done it before. You look through your master brief sheet and you look at all the ratings and stuff you have, and you think, man, if this guy from 2005 had evaluated me in 2011, like, this would be a different outcome, right? And so that's like the whole concept behind it is one person's ideology behind it, or what he or she thinks is the best or not the best, shapes your entire future in that organization.
Oh yeah.
It's a broken system.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem is that like you get a fucking dude that has a guy like Finney, and then he's got a right on you, and then you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah,
Finney was fucking solid.
No
He's a fucking like eminently qualified Marine.
But no matter what, I think 9.5% out of 10 of the percent of the time is those guys try to do the best they can. But no matter what, there's always going to be like individual assessments and personal relationship that's involved in that type of process.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, my fit reps as a sergeant were fucking shit hot. They were great. My first couple of fit reps as a staff sergeant, combat instructor, and everything, where I didn't have a spot as a platoon sergeant, I mean, they were shit. Because the other staff sergeants around there, these dudes were.
Well, that's your first fit rep or second fit rep as a staff sergeant. You need to get low no matter what. Like, that mindset is a broken and flawed system.
Oh yeah. I mean, that wrecks you. I mean, that can wreck you. Especially if you're a bottom.
So, imagine me as a management consultant for this company, and these guys are like, well, you know what? You've never been outside the Marine Corps and been in a construction company before. We're just not even going to take a chance on you. You know, like, that just doesn't happen all the time outside of the Marine Corps. Now, sometimes it does. There's companies that say, you know, you don't have the experience and you don't have the background and what we're looking for, and that hurts you. But those companies, I promise you, are going to fail.
Yeah.
They're not going to make it. If that's what they're basing their hiring off of, you don't want to be part of that company anyway.
Well, and that goes back to the old John Glenn speech. I don't know if you remember this one. Yeah.
Yep.
Fucking Metzenbaum.
Never held a job.
Never held a job.
Exactly. Like, it's funny, man, because I was going to post that on my Facebook tonight. Gunny, Gunny Waldron, whatever his name was, his speech, like.
Yeah, his John Glenn speech. Fucking Howard Metzenbaum.
And that's the thing, man. Like, of course, that's somebody stepping outside the norm, John Glenn.
Yeah.
Of stepping outside the box where people say, this is what you should be, this is what you're capable of, and somebody saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to lie about that.
Yeah, because there's no straight line to being an astronaut from being a Marine, unless you're like a fighter pilot. But it's not really a straight line still. It's like, it's not. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
Just like there's no straight line from becoming a gunny in the Marine Corps to becoming a COO of a multi-million-dollar company.
Absolutely.
That just, like that's an officer position, And
clearly. I mean, you'd have to be like a Lago or an OPSO or both to actually meet the qualifications for that job on a resume. But the thing is,
but go out there and destroy the norm, destroy the framework that people tell you to do, and just say, you know what, not today, and who knows what you do.
It's like, who's supposed to be the enlisted advisor for those executive officers and stuff that are worried about the logistics within a company? Then a company of Marines, it's a gunnery sergeant. He's the guy that fucking makes that XO's job easier, makes his life easier. Without company guns, he's fucked.
But what makes the difference? And let's take out the occupational specialties of an individual person. What makes a gunny different from the major lieutenant colonel? Like, what makes personally them different?
I mean, a paycheck.
Yep, pretty much, right? Because I have my master's degree. So quite frankly, there's a bunch of majors and lieutenant colonels that I have more education than I have.
Yeah.
So what makes us different as a person to fill in these roles? And the answer is nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing because like OCS, I mean, it's boot camp, but nicer. And then TBS is SOI, but nicer. A little bit longer, but nicer. I guess it's TBS and AIC together if you want to play that game. But like at the same time, it's nicer.
And here's what made it real for me, right? When I first started and got my retirement approved, and I was spending more time with this company and trying to get it figured out and trying to help them shape whatever future that we could have, the actual officer that approved my retirement in the Marine Corps reached out to me asking for a job.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Boom, there it is. Like, this is definitely a new life for me now. It's like I have these guys who were making decisions on my life in the Marine Corps are now asking me about having a job in the company that I work with, and that's, you just never know what you could become.
It's the adjustment from like this whole tiered system based off of ranks and pay grades and everything to a system that's more based off of like what you provide as an employee or as a man. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Stop accepting the norm and just do what you think you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, what's normal isn't necessarily normal because it's right. It's just what's been working. But in the environment that we have now, where things are changing all the time, technology is like has evolved business beyond what we could have expected it to be too, because of information. And then you look at cryptocurrency and the instability of the freaking market and everything like that because of the advent of cryptocurrency that doesn't have any backing, but it really just mines energy and shit like that into creating data. That's not a solid product in anything but security. I mean, is it a security? Yeah. But like, how secure is it? And that faith in its security is what gives it value. I mean, and its popularity. So you look at these things in the adjustment of how business runs and stuff. Like, am I gonna freaking join, or am I gonna freaking accept a business contract that says we're gonna give you so many fucking Dogecoins? Probably not. Not because I don't have any faith in Dogecoin or anything like that. I just don't think like the longevity of it, if it's written in a contract, is going to be advantageous for me. No, I'm all right. Thank you.
Well, and it's just to the point to where all the stuff that people told you growing through the military is just not true. It's just not. Yeah. Right? Like, the teams that I have right now in wood construction are awesome freaking teams, and I love working with them. And that's just not the case that people tell you. People are like, oh, when you get out in the civilian world, civilians are nasty, they'll never do it. I mean, and it's just not true. It's a bunch of false securities that it's put in place to make you believe certain things are not going to happen, to where if you just defy the norm.
I think that perception is developed based off of the right out of high school or didn't even finish high school fucking flunky that, well, I tried to join the Marine Corps, but like, it just wasn't working out for me at the time,
Yeah.
And like, all right, if you're going to freaking develop your entire perception of all civilians based off of that, you're going to have a mentality that says that they're lesser than you. And you can't look at the world like that. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that never served that did great things, but it took them a lot longer to learn the lessons that we had to learn through fucking lots and lots of pain and very early.
Yeah, and that's a framework of why I started the warriorship, and I wanted to make sure that people didn't think that I thought the world needed to be consisting of veterans and people who've been to war, because quite frankly, I know a bunch of Marines that have never deployed a day in their life who are awesome Marines and great Marines, and that kind of stipulation that other people put on that, like, oh, you ain't deployed, you ain't worth it, or you ain't good enough. I mean, I think that's just a broken or a flawed outlook on the system.
I agree with that, because I've seen some shit hot dudes that have never friggin' fired a single shot in hangar, and I mean, I highly respect these guys for all that they provided and how much they actually care, and that's something. That is something.
And I just think that you're broken, because how many times have we been somewhere and we've had staff NCOs and senior leadership early on deployments that once the bullets start flying, they're curled up in the ball crying underneath the truck, not knowing what to do.
That actually fucking happened.
Yeah, for sure. And you're flawed if you think that it only goes one way, because there's also the people who you think would never perform in combat, who had never experienced it before, and they would never do good, that would probably do better than you.
Yeah.
So you're flawed to think if you think one way and not the other way would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that ties back to another book, because I like reading, Starship Troopers. Look at the whole thing with the movie. It has this one line and stuff like that about like service equals citizenship and stuff, but it's more than that. When everybody enlisted, right, they had this potential, right, You had the ones that were like, you know, high scores and great, highly graded and stuff like that in school, and they were great. You know, great. You can be a freaking starship pilot and what the fuck ever, right? And you can be an officer and you can do all this fucking cool stuff. But the one dude, Johnny Rico, with his shitty fucking math scores and um his obstinate freaking way of being, his oppositional and defiant freaking nature and stuff, goes through training and he doubts himself because you're in his mind the entire time, right? He doubts himself. He thinks about quitting, and he gets over the hump, and he realizes, he goes back into his mind and stuff like that about the things that Mr. Dubois, the teacher from the book, which is Michael Ironside or the Lieutenant Ratjack in the movie. It's separate characters in the book, but anyway, goes back into the things that he learned from him. And was like, oh, he has this oh shit, oh moment. And having that oh shit, oh moment early on helped him to move on and freaking helped him to I guess, grow and evolve. But there were specific jobs that were only meant for military, like being a freaking morality and ethics teacher in freaking high school and shit, right? But there's jobs where a civilian can do it. Civilian specialist, like being a doctor or a physician or a psychologist or anything like that. It doesn't mean that you're not able to do a thing that's valuable and useful within your community just because you didn't serve, just because you weren't a combat troop, just because you weren't a pilot or the smartest or whatever. Like, your potential isn't limited within a box, right? And it's not something that a test can, that any test like the ASVAB can measure out for you. Like, it's not.
Yeah, definitely. And people just need to quit. We need to quit thinking that we can use certain data and cumulative points to assess how people can either succeed or not succeed. And that's just how there is to the people will always surprise you or not surprise you, and we just need to accept the fact that Murphy's Law is well into effect,
Yeah.
and that you just never know who's going to be great and who's not going to be great.
Yeah.
And,
Like, there's, like, you can quantify by a test, like, how many answers got right and how many answers got wrong and everything. But one thing that you can't quantify through that test is effort and heart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You can't.
Sure.
You can't quantify how hard they tried. Like,
Yep.
you can just fucking draw a Christmas. You can Christmas tree the whole test and fail it, but it may have just been ridiculous to you, and fuck that.
Yeah. And trust me, I had tons and tons of hate, and I'm the guy that had, I mean, Fallujah, Ramadi, Marja, like Somalia. I've been through a bunch of major focal points in the battles of Marine Corps history in the past, 20 years, and I still have people who disagree with my mindset. And when it came to females in the infantry, I'm the guy that says, hey, you know what? If they can pull trigger and carry the weight and make and kill and slay bodies, I'm all about it, because I'm the guy in Martha who had two FET females who were on the FET team that I watched a machine gunner get shot in the shoulder. He went down for the count, and I watched them jump on a 240 and slay bodies in the middle of battle. And I'm the type of guy that it doesn't matter who you are. If you can do the job and do it right, I don't care who you are. It's saving lives.
Yeah, I'm with that. So I wasn't necessarily against the females either. I just think that if you can get the gun to the top of that mountain and set up a support by fire it, and get everything back down again, I mean, we're good.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
100%. Like, if you're I don't agree with lowering standards, but if you're meeting standards and getting the job done and slaying bodies and accomplishing the mission, I don't care who it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can quantify effort, by performance evaluation and shit. You put a motherfucker on a 20-kilometer hike and everything, you can pretty much quantify effort.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. After 3 years though,
Yeah.
ITB, I'm done with that.
Yeah, you can't do it with a written test, but you can do it with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I like the idea of the Mispis. I think that was a good thing. I think I'm pretty happy they implemented that because it took a lot of the chaff out of there. Like when I joined the Marine Corps, I weighed 125 pounds. I was like,
Yeah, but
5'9",
again,
25 pounds.
so I was flown out for the MISPA. So I
Yeah.
was sent to California, and again, it was the battle of who thought what was important. Individual assessments, right? Like,
Yeah.
we think climbing the mountains on the West Coast is important.
Yeah.
We think longevity and going through longer hikes and more weight is like that's what it comes down to is individual assessments on what each person thinks is important.
Yeah.
Does not matter.
Yeah, what matters
matters.
Yeah, like okay, what's important to the job itself? Like what do you have to do? Like get over things, take things distances, drag a motherfucker because like rendering aid to your freaking comrades, that's a huge thing. I mean, I was there. I had to fucking do it and everything. Did I have to drag him freaking 200 yards? No. Like, I was in a truck. Just need to get him by a wheel. Easy day. Between the wheel and the ditch. Easy day. You know? Throw a fucking pressure dressing or a tourniquet on a motherfucker. Easy fucking day. Can you do that? Can you do that under stress? And for me, I did it with my face hanging off. So, yeah.
And I think that's what's
I'm not
important,
gonna be able to freaking chip off somebody's face with a fucking hatchet and shit like that, and then make them do it in a test. It's not gonna happen.
I think that's what's important. It's like making sure that people can. We can't stress them out enough to make those decisions and make those actions, but being able to assess that stuff under certain circumstances is important. And we need to figure out. I don't think we're there yet. I think we still need to figure out what causes and what we can do to make those decisions better based off of scenarios. But
yeah, we've tried with unnerving sights and sounds or banging some ammo cans with rocks in them next to our head. Like, I mean, we've tried. Like through like moulage when you're going into a room and stuff like that, and a mass cas drill. I mean. Yeah, it's pretty fucking gross looking and stuff, but you know that's corn syrup. And when you're hearing the freaking sounds of the loudspeakers, how many freaking privates have ever heard freaking like a call to prayer before and know that means bad shit's about to happen? None of them.
But the fact
they have no context.
They're not gonna fight wars forever.
Yeah,
like there's not always gonna be a war going on 24/7.
I have to disagree with that. Because of Smedley Butler. War is a racket, and the military-industrial complex wants it.
but I guess what my thought behind that is that there's a difference between people like me and you training people and people who trained us.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that needs to be figured out and needs to be a priority of effort because no matter what, there's never going to be a war going on 24/7.
I think that we had probably the best kind of training for what we were about to be, which is a bunch of dudes with maybe one combat pump between like half of them and stuff. And most of them were peacetime Marines, joined during peacetime, spent most of their time in peace, did like one deployment that was a combat deployment, and then took a combat instructor job or we're back in the fleet and ready to go on the next pump and stuff. And yes, that next pump was Iraq. Those dudes taught us how to act for our very next job, which was being a dude that joined for the war, but had just one pump of experience, and the world's going to change.
So, but for me, though, there was the Marines. I didn't have leaders that had combat experience, and the people that I went with were the people that Some people were the ones that were under the truck, curled up in the ball, not wanting to know, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to accomplish that. And I think we need to figure out how to make it better and better training for them to lead Marines, right? So, and I'm not taking away from people who haven't deployed to combat. Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is it's harder for people when you have a generation that haven't deployed before and haven't been in those situations, who are leaders and followers. I think we're in a bind when we send them to those places. And again, I think it's important. I'm the guy that thinks discipline and formations and drill. I think that's important when it comes to the overall aspect of a good infantry unit.
Establish a baseline of a baseline of discipline, so that when you conduct rehearsals, that discipline is maintained and people actually do the thing that they're supposed to do during that rehearsal.
Yeah, and again, I want to make sure I'm not blasting people that have never deployed before. All I'm saying is it's a difference between when we came in. When I came in 04 and went straight to Fallujah in January of 05, like there was no time for training. So I don't have the input to say whether or not I could have had good training or not good training. I just don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have that experience.
I'm going to go ahead and say that you didn't because nobody was ready yet. Like, nobody knew what the hell we were up against. Well, we kind of did. Yeah. Like, you went in 2005. You came in 2004. We knew some things, but it was changing. By then, you had Zarqawi. You had freaking ice block mortars. You had freaking IEDs growing in size and stuff. Like, when I joined in 03. And I was in Fallujah in, like, November of 04. And it was only, like, here and there to freaking, escort this VIP, freaking run, like, get this fucking tank over here and shit like that, or freaking do fucking shitloads of, like, IED runs and stuff along Mobile in Michigan, all over the fucking place. Bring a guy over here, freaking escort EOD, that kind of shit in Fallujah. Like, I wasn't there. I wasn't in Fallujah kicking in fucking doors and stuff like that and doing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All that cool stuff that 301 was doing.
I'm the same way. Like, I was up Mobile, Michigan at MSR Security, and basically, like, when the 500-pound bomb was dropped by our own forces didn't go off, and they somehow moved it and buried it in the road.
Yeah.
Like, our leaders had no idea. Like, oh shit! Like, there's a 500-pound bomb buried in the road. What do we do?
It's out there somewhere. Yeah. Like,
exactly. So, and that's the point, right? That's the point. Is we need people who can think through. And fortunately, I had those people. I had those leaders that was able to, like, you know what? Let me think through this. We've never experienced this before, but let me think through this and figure out how to accomplish this task of. There's a big ass bomb on the road somewhere that could kill 3 of our trucks in one blast.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. And, like, the answer for, like, when I was there was send a dismount, like, a couple 100 yards out in front of the fucking truck to walk and look. That was the answer. Like, yeah. And I was that dismount. I was the PFC robot. I was that guy.
That's not the answer no more. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And to wrap this all back up, it's like those type of experiences can help us shape and enhance the current civilian businesses of the world.
Right? Oh yeah.
Because
it has to do with, like, actual concern for like the lowest level freaking employee. Like, for the lowest paid employee, I don't want to say the lowest level because I don't want to take away from their, like, knowledge, skill, proficiency, or potential. But the lowest paid employee, those guys, they're still valuable to us because there's so many of them. 100%. There's more fucking PFCs and Lance Corporals in the Marine Corps than anything else. They're important to the Marine Corps.
And, like, here's a perfect example of that, right? So I'm not going to say no names, but I I had an issue in another city, and so my thought process was, hey, you know what? Let me send a team of highly skilled people from this city to that city to help me catch up in that city.
Yeah.
And that person who's not like he's not a project manager, he's not a leader of in an essence of a position. He's a leader by mind and by mindset and by how he can actually teach people, but he's not a leader by position. He sent me a bunch of pictures of the project and then sent me a checklist. He's like, hey, hey, he called me Mr. Jeff, by the way.
Yeah, I like it.
Or sir. They call me sir all the time. He was
I like
like, hey,
that too.
Mr. Jeff, just want to let you know, like, if you have any questions in the future, this is the list of how you should do the process of these jobs. And then he called his boss and said, hey, I sent this to Mr. Jeff. I want to make sure, like, I don't want to make him mad or make him think I'm undermining him. I'm just trying to help as much as possible. You know, and my response is, hey man, absolutely. I'm actually going to take the list.
Why the hell would I be mad? You're there.
Like, I'm going to take the list that you sent me and make a training video for the entire company.
Yeah.
Like, your input is going to go to this whole entire multi-million-dollar company because I think that's very important. And by no means am I mad. I'm actually like learning from you. Like, thank you for making me better.
That dude,
and that's the mindset, right?
That dude sacked up. He had the balls to fucking like. First of all, he had the thought and the initiative to scan the area, to make an assessment and shit like that, and the ability to freaking do that. Also, the analytical mind to be able to say there are problems and we can fix them, or there are processes here that work that we can implement in other places that will work better for us, and to be able to locate those and then share them, and having the courage to go up the chain and to deliver that without keeping it to yourself and saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna get shut down. I'm a fucking nobody." That's serious fucking potential.
If my thought was,
that's a leader, yeah.
If you had sent this to me 4 months ago, we would be in this position right now.
Yeah, right. Damn. Yeah. I mean, it might have taken him quite some time to build that dossier of issues to find the truth of the assessment, because I mean people are driven by ego, especially in a workplace or anywhere else and stuff like that. They want to be right. They want to enforce that what they're doing is the right thing for the right reason and the right way.
But the mindset is, would a PFC who's scared to death of Gunny Sabins have sent that?
Oh, absolutely the fuck not.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
I know one guy that would have as a PFC. His name's Nick Brandow, and this dude's that dude was a monster from the time he was PFC. He was chewing out fucking corporals for being fat and falling out of runs as a PFC.
That's the difference, though, between the military life and the civilian life is that there's people who just like, you know what? Hey, what do you think about this? And although he's concerned about what is thought about him, he still had the fortitude to send it up.
Yeah, and that is that good shit. That's the thing that you want. Yeah. What do we call it? We call it intestinal fortitude formally, but informally we call it testicular fortitude. Having some nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. Oh, that's the good shit right there.
Yep. It ain't much different, man.
Yeah, it ain't much different. I'm not so scared of the real world anymore.
You need a job?
Oh man. I'm a salt of the earth dude, man. I just want to do things. I like working with my hands. I like fucking I don't necessarily like running things or coordinating. I'm decent at it. I'm pretty good at it. I'm all right with communication, especially with this fucking job that I've had for the last 3 years and having to go up and down the fucking chain and hold people accountable and stuff like that that way outrank me is like a it's not so much a challenge as it is like a privilege, but at the same time I don't I guess I've learned some tact. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, being tactful has become
It's
important.
to the point now. I just want to live my life. I
Yeah,
just want to. I want to be with my family. I want to be around my wife and kids. I just want to live my life, and I don't want
yeah,
people to tell me what I can and cannot do. And that's just the foundation of it. I want to live my life how I want to live my life.
yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I never want to work again. And like I said, grow a garden and fish. But I mean, I know that's not feasible. So what can I do in my extra time with the skills that I have or with the things that I love to do? Um, that helps that. And I think, I mean, a good easy first step, like like one rung up the ladder thing, being a substitute teacher. If I don't get fired, cool. I'll get a
That'll
degree.
pay the bills.
Yeah, it's enough to pay the bills with my retirement and maybe disability. I don't know. I think I'm pretty abled, but you know, Purple Hearts help, I guess, and fucking whatever.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, like I think it'll be good. I think that'll be fun. Just subbing in every now and then. Uh, shit, I don't know what the hell I'd teach. Anything, I suppose.
History.
History would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Oh, I'd be wrecking those kids' brain. Maybe I want to be like an English or language arts teacher though, so I can
This
like
is how we do the defense of the machine gun.
I'll assign them fucking wild ass books and
Yeah.
shit like freaking
Yeah, man.
Whispers in the Tall Grass by Neil Brockhausen. And they're like, this book is practically porn. I'm like, just for like one chapter. The rest of it's about like, shenanigans and getting fucked up by the NBA. So take it for what it's worth. And they're like, all right.
Yeah, man.
That's that one's wild. It's like, all right, so I don't know how much you know about like Mac v Sog, but this is like on the ground, freaking one of the like 1-3s becomes a 1-0 for his own team and has to fucking go and do shit out in the freaking out in the jungle, freaking running his own freaking mountain yards, which is these like Vietnamese freaking locals that want to fight the NVA, that want to fight the freaking the Viet Cong and stuff like that because they're wrecking their villages. So these are like straight Green Beret freaking super sneaky fucking secret squirrel dudes with language skills that are going into a village recruiting freaking kids that are like 15 to 18 years old and shit and putting a gun in their hands and making them into fucking soldiers and getting them out there because their heart is in the fight. They want to fight and they want to do the right things. They're teaching them tactics and all this stuff. But every time they drop, every time they freaking, insert into any freaking area, they're getting overrun like fucking crazy. And they got to be super secret squirrel, like all guerrilla tactics, nuts. And like the Mac V dudes just had access to a lot of freaking support, but the support couldn't come in a lot of times. So they'd be like with their ass hanging in the wind a lot of times. So the attrition freaking level was super fucking high, but it's because of leaks from the Arvin and from the freaking, South Vietnamese freaking Marines and shit like that. And that shit went all the way up to like no shit, like the centralized government that was leaking it directly to the NVA, which is why they were getting fucked up so bad. And in Neil Brockhausen's book, it's like it's suspected and expected, but it's not proven. And it's not until like the later book, Mac V Sog, with everything disclassified, that you find out that, well, no shit, that is what was happening. But it was just like dudes doing dude things. I mean, that'd be a.
That's why I love books, man. Like,
I fucking love me
oh
some
my
books.
gosh, these stories.
Yeah.
You just never. Oh my, it's awesome.
Yeah, like I like that whole on the ground story plus the freaking 30,000
Yep.
freaking foot view story,
Yep.
like just to tie it all together. That was something cool. You're not gonna get that with a lot of things. Like you can kind of get that with Echo and Ramadi on the ground view, but they don't have that 3,000 freaking they don't or 30,000 feet view yet. With Najaf, you have a book called Battle for the City of the Dead. That's that 30,000 foot view, but there's no ground view book yet. Like none of the officers are enlisted and stuff have written like their own account of what happened in Najaf.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it.
Yeah, man. Like that's my plan. I want to start writing some more books too, and getting out there and doing that stuff. I mean, I'm excited about it, and it's just fun, man. Like writing books is fun. Like it's not about making money; it's just having fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's got to be a good time, and the hard part is being true, being being true to the story and being respectable of everybody that was around you and collecting all the information and stuff so you can make an actual factual account, which is why fiction is much more fun and a lot easier.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, you have to build these archetypes and make this character and make sure that he's not perfect. Like Star Wars, you have imperfect characters like Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker. Like they're whiny bitches in the beginning, but develop into something freaking awesome. Anakin turning to the dark side, but Luke freaking being the strong one that turns him back. That's all cool. But yeah, then you have the sequel trilogy with Rey, and she's this perfect character the entire time through. There's no real development except for adding more skill through the Force, but the ability is always there somehow. It's just like freaking easy, and this person never fucking changes
Yep.
or has any real conflict except for a little bit of sexual tension between her and the bad guy. Like the fuck out of here. That's not character development. That's not a good story. Get out of here, Kathleen Kennedy
For
and
sure,
J.J.
man.
Abrams and Ryan Johnson. Fucking ruining Star Wars.
Yeah, man. And I can't wait. Like I think I'm like 2 months out. 2 months out to publishing my next book, Retaliation. I can't like we need to come back on and get together
Oh
and
yeah.
talk. Uh, I I wish I wouldn't have put it off so much, but hopefully the next 2 months we can get back together and talk about that book. And who knows, man? Maybe we can write a book together.
Oh shit, that'd be good. Yeah.
Let's do something, man. Let's
Oh
let's
yeah.
let's figure something out, man. Let's do a machine gun book.
Oh dude. Fucking I like the idea of a space machine gunner. Like no shit, like space
Make
marines fucking
stuff
like
up, man.
dropping down and freaking like steel rods from a fucking satellite and shit like that, digging into the ground like Quake. And then
Yeah,
freaking
man. I got a
popping
book
out.
I'm working on called The Farm about some supernatural stuff with machine guns. Maybe we should
Oh
get together.
hell yeah. Oh, that'd be badass. Hell yeah.
Who knows what could happen?
Oh, they'd be fucking legit as balls. Killing ghosts and zombies with fucking a machine gun full of
Exactly,
rock
man.
salt.
Just having fun.
That'd be fucking cool, dude. All right, we're over 2 hours now, so I think it's safe to cut it off. And man, this has been a lot of fucking fun. A lot of fun.
For sure, man. Let's set a few more up, man. Like I didn't think it'd go this long. So
I know,
let's
I
set
know.
a few more up, man. Like shoot, man. Let's get together and talk about some more stuff and get the crowd going.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm gonna work the quality a little bit better so it's smoother and chiller and everything, and that'll be good, man.
Yeah, and post some stuff on your IG, on your Insta.
Oh yeah.
I want to give away
Absolutely.
three free books to some people.
Oh
The
yeah.
American Theater. So work something out, man. I would love to send some people some free books and get the story out there. And for sure, man, I really want to get back on here and let's talk some more stuff. Let's
Yeah.
really get through some topics, man.
Hell yeah. Sounds good to me, brother. All right, I'm gonna freaking go ahead and stop the recording with this little button